February 12th, 2026. A senior member of the royal family broke ranks and said something the palace never wanted you to hear. Charles is much worse in health and shape than he appears to be. Not a tabloid, not an anonymous tip. A senior family member, someone who sees him, someone who sits across from him at dinner, decided the gap between what you've been told and what's actually happening had gotten too wide to stay silent. 15 signs, everyone sourced. From palace spin to insider truth, and by number 15, the story they've fed you for 2 years falls apart completely. For 24 months, it's been the same script. Responding well. Precautionary phase. Treatment reduced. But his suit was hanging off him at a world summit. He was hospitalized and they called it a blip. And the same institution that called Diana unstable for 30 years is now telling you Charles is fine. They lied about her. For 3 decades, they painted a woman who was suffering as the one causing problems, while the man they protected carried on untouched. Diana lived it. The silence, the cover stories, the machine grinding her down while smiling for the cameras. Now Charles is inside the same machine, a body betraying him, a palace demanding he perform, and a secret they can't keep buried much longer. That's the palace version. Now let's hear what the insiders are actually saying, because by number 15, you'll never believe them again. Number 1, the good news announcement. December 12th, 2025. Stand Up to Cancer broadcast. Charles looks into the camera and reads these exact words. Thanks to early diagnosis, effective intervention, and adherence to doctor's orders, my own schedule of cancer treatment can be reduced in the new year. Hello Magazine ran the quote. Headlines everywhere, the king is winning. The king is beating cancer. The king is on the mend. But nobody in the press bothered to catch the word that matters. He said reduced, not ended, not beaten, not I'm cancer-free. Reduced. That's a word palace lawyers approved because it sounds like progress without promising anything. Translation? His treatment isn't stopping. It's being adjusted. And there's a reason they chose adjusted over finished. Number 2, not in remission. Because that same day, buried underneath the hopeful headlines, the palace confirmed Charles is not in remission. They led with treatment reduced, knowing that's what each outlet would run. But tucked into the briefing was the truth. After nearly 2 years of treatment, the King of England is still not in remission. His own palace slipped that detail in like they were hoping nobody would catch it. Their exact words, "This position will be continuously monitored and reviewed to protect and prioritize his continued recovery." That's not a man who beat cancer. That's a man whose cancer is being managed. And there's a world of difference between managed and cured. One means you won. The other means you're in a holding pattern, waiting to see which direction the next scan goes. They couldn't say cured, so they said managed and hoped you wouldn't notice. Number 3, the secret they've kept for 2 years. Now here's the thing that should have been front page news from day one, but somehow never was. Charles was diagnosed in February 2024. It's now February 2026, 2 full years, and the palace has never told the British public what type of cancer the king has. They said it's not prostate cancer. It was found during treatment for an enlarged prostate. That's it. That's everything. 2 years, and that's all the public has been allowed to know about their own king's diagnosis. Ask yourself, if the outlook were good, if the prognosis were encouraging, if it were anything close to positive, would they be classifying it? You don't hide good news for 2 years. You hide information because the truth would change the conversation, permanently, irreversibly, in ways the palace cannot control. That question will follow you through each sign on this list, and by number 15, you'll have your answer. Now, the palace can manage words. They can draft statements, they can time announcements for Friday afternoons, but they cannot control what Charles looks like when he walks into a room full of cameras. Number 4, the hospitalization they downplayed. March 27, 2025. Charles was hospitalized. Side effects from treatment. The palace called it, and I'm quoting directly, a minor blip, a short observational stay. Back to Clarence House the next day. Move along, nothing to see. But think about what hospitalized for side effects actually means. It means the treatment hit him hard enough that a medical team decided he needed overnight monitoring. That's not a blip. When your treatment puts you in hospital, the treatment itself has become the problem. And adjusting it means the doctors are recalculating everything. That's a red flag dressed up in a press release. And the speed with which the palace minimized it tells you exactly how badly they needed you to stop thinking about what it meant. Number 5. His suit was hanging off him. October 2025, a public engagement alongside Prince William, cameras from every major outlet in attendance, and Charles walked in looking like a different man. A source told Radar Online. Geo.tv confirmed it. His suit was hanging off him. He looked like a man fighting something bigger than he's letting on. Thinner, paler. The kind of weight loss that makes people stop mid-sentence when they see someone they haven't seen in a while. And no amount of responding well covers what those cameras captured. The clothes don't lie, the eyes don't lie. When your suit starts hanging off your shoulders in front of each major news outlet on Earth, that's a body telling a story the palace can't edit. Diana knew what that looked like. She watched her own body change through the bulimia, through the stress, through years of being told she was the problem. Nobody protected her. Nobody issued statements calling her suffering a minor blip. The entire machine is protecting Charles, and even with each press officer, each managed statement, each carefully timed announcement, they still can't hide what the cameras are showing. Number 6. The illusion of perfect health is collapsing. Same month, October 2025. A palace insider told Radar Online something that stopped me cold. The illusion of perfect health is collapsing. Those are their words, not mine. Someone inside the building looked at the gap between the press releases and reality and said, "The illusion is collapsing." Another source, "The optics are impossible to spin." And here's the detail that should terrify Camilla. Senior aides were reportedly preparing William to take on significantly more responsibility, much sooner than expected. Not as a backup plan, not just in case. They were actively drawing up transition plans. While you were being told the king was responding well, the people who actually run the monarchy were planning for his replacement. 2 stories, one for the public, one for the people inside, and theirs was a lot more honest. Number 7, Charles jokes about dying. November 5th, 2025. Chatfield Healthcare in London. Charles is visiting veterans. A man named David Wiggins talks about his arm surgeries and the metal plates inside him. Charles laughs and says, "Hello, magazine recorded this word for word. I've got endless plates and screws in my arm as well. All that's left of you when you drop dead is made in Switzerland." Drop dead. On camera. To a stranger. Maybe it's nothing. Dark humor, British wit. But here's the thing. People who are winning don't joke about dying. That's not what beating something sounds like. That's what familiarity sounds like. That's a man who's been sitting in a room with the thought of death long enough that he's learned to make conversation with it. You don't joke about dropping dead unless it's crossed your mind more than once. And the fact that it slipped out that easily, that naturally, with a laugh, to people he'd just met, tells you it lives closer to the surface than anyone in that building wants to admit. We're past what the cameras caught now. From here on, it's what the sources are saying behind closed doors. And this is where the palace story falls apart completely. Number 8. Seriously unwell but determined to carry on. A source close to the family told journalist Rob Shooter. Yahoo Entertainment confirmed it. Charles is seriously unwell but determined to carry on. Every morning, he insists on reading his red boxes. He believes his service to the country is his calling, and he'll keep going as long as he can. As long as he can. Sit with that for a second. Not until he's better. not until treatment's done, as long as he can. That's a man who knows the clock is running. That's not recovery language. That's endurance language. And the people around him are watching a man push through something they're not allowed to name. Number 9. The incurable bombshell. June 2025. Camilla Tominey, an associate editor of the Daily Telegraph, the woman who broke the Harry and Meghan story, one of the most connected royal journalists alive, published this. The talk now is that he may die with cancer, but not of cancer, following a rigorous treatment program. Read that again. Die with cancer, not of cancer. Sounds reassuring for about 3 seconds, until you realize what it actually means. The cancer isn't going away. They've stopped talking about curing it. The goal isn't beating cancer anymore. The goal is keeping Charles alive long enough that something else gets him first. That's not victory. That's managed decline in a nice suit. And the most connected royal reporter in Britain just told the world that the palace has quietly moved the goalposts from cure to time. Nobody corrected her. Nobody pushed back. Nobody issued a denial. Because she's right. And they know it. Number 10. Physically sick with worry. And it's not just the cancer. A source told Radar Online that Charles is physically sick with worry over Andrew's Epstein scandal. Their exact words, it's going to kill him. Treatment has left him too frail to deal with this crisis. You're fighting cancer. Your body is being hammered by treatment. And each morning you wake up to fresh headlines about your own brother and Jeffrey Epstein. The stress alone would wreck a healthy person. Charles is not healthy. And the people closest to him, the ones who see him before the suit goes on and after the cameras turn off, they're saying the combination of cancer and Andrew is doing damage no press release can fix. We've covered 10 signs, the managed announcements, the hidden diagnosis, the crumbling facade, the insider quotes that contradict everything the palace has said. But the last 5? That's where Camilla comes in. Because she's the one who's been watching all of this happen up close. And there were moments she couldn't hold it together. Moments that tell you more than any source ever could. Number 11. Distressed beyond measure. February 2026, the latest Epstein document release. An insider told the press the family has been distressed beyond measure. They had no idea what the documents would reveal. And Charles reportedly contributed £1.5 million toward Andrew's £12 million settlement. A king whose own body is failing, paying millions out of his own pocket to bury his brother's connection to the most notorious sex trafficker of the century, while the press office tells you he's doing great. That's what responding well looks like when you pull back the curtain. Number 12. Camilla wanted it kept secret. When Charles was first diagnosed, the Times reported that Camilla wanted it kept completely private. She feared, and this is their reporting, that once the door on it had been opened, it could never be closed. She was right about that much. The door isn't just open anymore. It's blown off its hinges, and everything behind it is pouring out. Number 13. Camilla breaks down on live television. August 15th, 2025. VJ Day, BBC, millions watching. A 105-year-old veteran named Captain Yavar Abbas goes off script. He stands up and says, "I make no apology for briefly going off script to salute my brave king, who is here with his beloved queen, despite the fact that he is under treatment for cancer." And Camilla broke. On live television. Her lip trembled. Her eyes filled. A tear rolled down her cheek. Charles put his hand over his mouth. Millions of people watching the most composed woman in royal life, the woman who survived 30 years as the most hated woman in Britain by never once cracking, completely fall apart because a stranger said out loud what everyone in the room already knew, but nobody was supposed to say. That wasn't a PR moment. That wasn't managed. That was a woman who's been carrying something unbearable in private, smiling through each appearance, standing next to her husband performing everything is fine. And one unscripted sentence from a man old enough to remember the war broke through each wall she'd built. Camilla sees what we don't see. She knows what the press releases leave out. She knows what responding well actually looks like behind closed doors. And for one moment, the weight of carrying that each day was heavier than 30 years of practice at pretending. That's not a woman performing grief. That's a woman drowning in it. And the whole country saw. Number 14. Needn't pretend to be fine. January 2026. Camilla visits Maggie's Cancer Center in Cheltenham. She talks about the founder's vision. And listen to what she says. Because the words are doing double duty, Maggie was convinced that people living with cancer crave a beautiful, comforting environment as they face the unknown, a place where they needn't pretend to be fine, where laughter can come as naturally as tears, because sometimes that's what's wanted. Needn't pretend to be fine. She's describing cancer patients, but she's also describing herself, a woman who wakes up each morning next to a man the world is watching, knowing what she knows, seeing what the cameras never capture, and pretending to be fine. Every single day, she told a room full of cancer patients that nobody should have to do that. And then she walked outside and kept doing it. Diana understood pretending. She smiled through state dinners while her marriage was disintegrating. She waved at crowds while her world was collapsing behind closed doors. She performed fine until the performance nearly killed her. Camilla called her dramatic for it. The palace called her unstable. And now Camilla is living inside the exact same prison, smiling on the outside, breaking on the inside. And she finally understands what Diana went through. The difference is Diana got no sympathy. None. She got blame. Number 15. Much worse than he appears. And number 15. The one from 4 days ago. The one that collapses 2 years of palace spin in 6 words. February 12th, 2026. A senior member of the royal family told journalist Naomi Skye, Geo.tv published it, "The king is much worse in health and shape than he appears to be." Not a tabloid source, not an anonymous blog, a senior family member, someone who decided the gap between what the public is being told and what's actually happening had gotten too wide to stay silent. A palace insider added, "The king's health is not good at all." The Epstein fallout has had a devastating effect. 6 words, much worse than he appears. And those 6 words demolish every responding well statement, every precautionary phase, every carefully managed headline. 2 years of Camilla smiling beside him while the truth sat behind her eyes, shattered by someone inside the family who couldn't carry the lie anymore. That's not spin. That's someone breaking ranks. And once someone breaks ranks, the palace doesn't control the story anymore. The story controls itself. And this one has been building pressure for 2 years. The dam just cracked. Diana knew this feeling. A body that betrays you, a palace that demands you smile, secrets that eat you alive while the institution manages the narrative. She lived it for 15 years. And the machine that put her through it is now watching the same thing happen to the man they chose to protect instead of her. She knew, better than anyone who ever walked through those doors, the truth always comes out, no matter how many press officers stand in its way. The truth finds a crack. It always does. 15 signs, from managed announcements to insider leaks to a woman breaking down on live television. They told you he was fine. The insiders say he's much worse than he appears. Camilla wanted it buried. But the truth doesn't stay buried. Not for Diana, not for Charles, not for anyone. Charles waited 70 years to wear the crown. He may not have long to keep it. And here's what sits underneath all of it. Everything Camilla has right now, the title, the crown, the jewels, the staff, the palace, the lifestyle, all of it lives and dies with one man. The second he's gone, Diana's son makes each decision, and William has been watching this performance his entire life, watching, waiting, and he remembers everything. Click here to see 20 things Camilla will lose when King Charles dies, and why the boy who walked behind his mother's coffin now holds all the power.